then he must have been freshman or sophomore. He was in high school. And one night I was feeling real bad. I had a lot of pain in my side, way down low in my leg. And so Allie took me to the chiropractor, or Morton. When we come back, why, Ron met us out in the yard. He come running across the yard, and he said, "Mom, Dad, I think you're going to have to take me up to the hospital." And I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well," he said, "I was running by that thing there," he said, "and I fell," and he said, "I punched a hole in my head." And I said, "You did? Let me see." And I looked at it and I said, "Albie, he's got a hole in his head." I said, "Let's get him up to the hospital right now." So we went up, we took him.
What kind of hole? He had a hole in the skull, or just
He
in
had a hole
scalp?
in his head like that.
Yeah.
A hole right in his scalp. Just looked right down. Looked like it might be, well, I couldn't see the bottom, but it looked like it might be like that. Nice big hole. He said, "I wonder if I've hurt my brain." So I knew he was scared when he said that. And I said, "Well, I don't know. You don't seem to be unconscious or anything, so we'll get you to the hospital." So we took him to the hospital, emergency room. And of course, Dave Bennett was my cousin, first cousin. So he took him right up to a room, and he started working on Ron. Of course, he wouldn't let us go. Dave wouldn't let us go in with him, and he must have been 14 or 15. He wasn't very old, but he was old enough to be ornery. And I heard him say, "Do you think that hit my brain, Dave?" And Dave sort of laughed, and he said, "Well, no, I don't think it did, but it said it's pretty deep." So he cleaned it all out, you know, and he said, "Let's see what else you've done." Whether Ron told him that he was sort of skinned up or not, I don't know. But I saw Dave reach down and grab his shirt and pull it right up over him, just over him, so he couldn't get his hands down and moved, you know. He was skinned just like you'd take a knife and go under his skin, on his sides here, and big splotches like that, just bloody raw, you know. And all over him, not just one place, but just all over his body. Well, they pulled down his pants, and he was skinned on his legs and his butt and every place else. Ron never said a word. And
He must have been a bloody mess.
oh, he was a bloody mess. Oh, he was a mess. And I didn't know whether he was going to be able to go out of the hospital or not, because he was just skinned. And he said, "No, I'm not going to stay." And when Dave told him he should stay, you know, overnight, no, he said, "No," he said, "I won't stay." And of course, he was a bullhead. You could not argue with him. No, didn't do any good. And same way with the dentist. Took him to the dentist one time, and he threatened to throw the dentist out of the upstairs window. He said, "If you don't leave me alone right now," he said, "I'm going to throw you right out that window." So he was a 14, 15-year-old kid, but he was a big kid. Weighed, oh, I expect 175, 80 pounds. And anyway, back to this skinning him. Dave just doctored him and cleaned everything. Just had to, oh, just a mess. He was, you know, you can't imagine if you just take a knife and skinned him. And so we took him home. I said, "What'll I do, Dave?" He said, "Nothing." He said, "Just let him go to bed and watch him." He said, "And keep it clean." He said, "Just use warm water and keep him clean." So I thought, okay, here goes nothing. And we took him home. He did not move out of that bed for about 3 days. He couldn't move even hardly to get to the bathroom. He'd probably crawl out and get to the bathroom, and then back he'd come. He might have even had a bottle in there, I don't know, but I know he didn't get out of the bathroom. And finally, we asked him how he got skinned that way, because we knew he hadn't hit that plow out there. It was not a plow, but a drill, and it had a sharp point. He had it all figured out to tell us, you know. And oh, he did. He made a good story out of it. And so I think it was just a night or two, Jan's dad come up. I don't know whether he come first or whether one of my old boyfriends, he was the sheriff down there, he come. Anyway, Don was in on it. I don't know whether Don come or whether, anyway.
My grandpa Ford?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don come up and he said something about wanting to know how it happened, you know. Well, he didn't know anything happened. Finally, it began to come out a little bit that Ron had been on a motorcycle and some boys had caught him and drug him. And
Who drug him?
well, we don't know. We don't know anything about it. Never could find out anything. Ed would never tell, and Ron would never tell. All we knew that he had been drugged, so they said, and Don Ford backed that up, that he guessed he'd been drugged, and it's a wonder he wasn't killed, because he was a smart aleck and an ornery kid. And I think he was trying to bluff some of the Lewiston boys probably or something, you know. He was a little town boy. And,
That's playing pretty rough.
huh?
That's
Oh,
playing
it was
pretty
rough. It was rough. He was a mess. And I think he was out of school 3 or 4 days too, after the weekend, you know. And so then the sheriff department come up, and Don was working for the sheriff's department at the time. And they were trying to find out what was happened. But anyway, that's what they said, that he had been riding his motorcycle. And where he got the motorcycle, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And never did find out. It disappeared anyway. No one ever knew anything about it. And whether he just borrowed it or whether, we don't know. And your dad never would tell us, and neither would Ed. Neither one would talk, little shits. And so anyway, I guess, you got that thing going.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting your grandmother in a bad
No, I'm not getting in trouble.
Anyway, but don't let your mother.
I won't.
Because she probably doesn't know all this. Anyway, he finally got over it. But you know, we never to this day found out what happened. All he'd say was, I hit the drill. I hit the drill. And he didn't hit the drill no more than nothing. And we knew it, but what could you do about it?